The cake was chocolate with buttercream. Roses the color of something trying too hard to be cheerful. My mother stood at the headed dining table in Columbus, hands clasped like she was presenting an award. 30. She announced, as if I had achieved it competitively. My Aunt Linda dimmed the lights. My cousin Chloe angled her phone. My father poured more Diet Coke into his glass without looking at me. They sang slightly off-key. Slightly impatient. When the cake turned toward me, the room was already buzzing with the kind of laughter that anticipates itself. The frosting rayed oops, still a disappointment. There was a beat, just long enough for the words to register, then the laughter crested. Not cruel exactly, but relieved. As if they'd finally said the quiet thing out loud and could now enjoy it. My mother covered her mouth like she couldn't gone through with it. "Oh, honey," she said between giggles. "You know it's a joke." I looked at the letters carefully. The icing was piped with confidence, no hesitation in the curves. I'd left my corporate job 2 months earlier. I'd turned down a partnership track. I'd told them I was starting something of my own. They'd heard unemployed. I didn't argue. I didn't cry. I didn't give them the performance of wounded sensitivity they were braced for. I stood. Picked up my bag from the back of the chair. Slipped my phone inside, chairs creaked. "Wait, come on," Aunt Linda said. "Don't be dramatic." I walked toward the front door. My Uncle Mark followed me into the foyer, lowering his voice. "Family," he said. "We tease. Don't make this bigger than it is." His hand hovered near my arm but didn't quite touch it. "You might want to check the closing documents," I said. He blinked. "What?" I put on my coat. "Uncle Mark." Outside, the October air felt clean. Not kind, just clean. 2 days later, I was in a glass-walled conference room downtown, signing the final paperwork with my attorney. The acquisition was complete 3 years ago. When Uncle Mark expanded his construction company, the bank had required an additional guarantor. My credit had been immaculate back then. Stable job. Predictable income. He'd framed it as temporary, just until we're steady. I had signed because family supports family. When I left my job this summer, I didn't quit into nothing. I joined a private equity group a former colleague had started in Cincinnati. We specialized in distressed small businesses with strong fundamentals and poor leadership. Uncle Mark's company had strong fundamentals. The pandemic loans were mismanaged. Equipment leases bloated. Vendor relationships strained. I had watched quietly from a distance as things tightened. When the bank called about covenant violations, my name was still on the file. They didn't call him first. They called me. I had options: refinance and hope. Or intervene. I chose intervention. By Wednesday morning, certified letters were delivered. The bank had assigned controlling interest to our group in exchange for debt restructuring. Operational oversight was changing immediately. Uncle Mark called at 9:12 a.m. At 9:13, my mother called. By noon, the family group chat, usual and except for holiday recipes, was in full panic. What did this mean? Was the house collateral? Were layoffs happening? Couldn't we work something out internally? My mother's voice, when I finally answered, was tight. "You blindsided us." I sat at my kitchen counter, sunlight cutting across the granite. I was on the loan, Mom. But to take control. Without telling your uncle. I've been telling him for 2 years to fix cash flow. Silence. Shia cake was a joke. I know. Another silence. Longer. "I didn't realize," she said finally, "how much you were actually involved." Not an apology, but recognition. That afternoon, I walked into the construction company's office for the first time, not as a nephew but as managing partner. The staff looked wary. Some relieved. Authority, when it shifts, has a temperature change. You can feel it in the air. I didn't fire anyone. I didn't give a speech. I sat down with the operations manager and asked for the real numbers. By Friday, payroll was secured. Vendor payments were scheduled. Wasteful leases flagged for renegotiation. It wasn't dramatic. It was disciplined. Sunday evening, my parents came over. No cake this time. My mother stood awkwardly in my living room, looking around as if she'd never fully seen it before. "I shouldn't have laughed," she said quietly. I nodded. It wasn't about the joke. She looked at me, really looked. "I know. We didn't hug theatrically. We didn't resolve decades of small dismissals. But something had shifted, cleanly, undeniably. 2 weeks later, at a staff meeting, Uncle Mark sat across from me at the conference table. Not hostile. Not warm. Just recalibrating. Let's focus on the next quarter, I said, sliding the projections toward him. He gave a short nod. Power doesn't always roar when it arrives. Sometimes it signs paperwork. Sometimes it secures payroll. Sometimes it walks out of a dining room without saying a word. And sometimes, 2 days later, everyone finally understands the joke wasn't funny.